Greg Noll, CEO and President of Ilwa Korean Ginseng, founder.
Hello, everybody. So we're all members of communities. I think this is something I like to bring it down to like a local level because I can't really deal with that big stuff. Sometimes that's very disempowering for me because what can I do when we have this kind of top-down organization, and how can I make a difference? Sometimes if I spend too much time there, I get very depressed. So I like to spend time thinking about things where I can make an impact and have power in my own life, because I think once we reach that level of personal empowerment, then we can start to affect change on larger levels. I think if we start on a larger level without looking at our own, where we can make a difference on a local level, then I think the order is kind of mixed up a little bit. So I just like to share a little bit about some of the community things that I'm doing and how it might help even on a larger level. So what makes for a healthy community? This is from Diane Leaf Christian, who wrote the book Creating Community. And we had the great pleasure of inviting her to a Chautauqua event about intentional community. And she came up with kind of like 3 important areas. So community glue is really important. You got to have fun. You got to have fun with each other. And that involves celebrations, sharing meals. If you think about Camp Chautauqua, for example, there's a lot of community glue there. And that community glue becomes the basis for healthy community. Without really enjoying each other's company and spending time with each other, crying with each other, laughing with each other, then really it loses the whole meaning and purpose of community. So community glue is an important part of community. I meant to say before this point that didn't make it to the slide, but a mission and vision statement, of course, is really critical because it's based on the mission vision of a community that community glue can then come forth. Another important part of a vibrant community is communication. If there's no clear way to communicate with each other, then it's really hard to develop intimacy and trust. Without intimacy and trust, there is no community. So clear channels of communication where people feel that they can be honest with each other and they don't have to play political games, they don't have to say what's politically correct, but they can just be who they are. If we can create that as a community, then that's another step toward a vibrant community. Then organizational management, creating the vision, administrative kind of things, finances. This is more the nuts and bolts of community. Again, without that, if you have community glue and good communication, but if you don't have good organizational management, then quickly things can go sour and a community can end up divided. So all are interconnected and all are critically important. I wouldn't say one is more important than the other because one without the other leads to failure. So Chautauqua governance, this is a grassroots organization. It's something that anybody in the room here could actually create in their own local community, and that's what I like about it. It's not something that was directed by Father or directed by any leader. It was a group of families that got together 20 years ago, and they decided to take things into their own hands, so to speak. They're not going to let the church or anybody else give spiritual education to their kids, but they're going to do it themselves. And so it was based on this grassroots effort that Chautauqua was established, and so I just like to talk about that because I've been very involved in that in the last few years. So this was the structure before 2012. It was kind of a top-down organization. I was the executive director. And then I had 2 assistants. I had Crescentia DeGode and Kester Wilkening. And the 3 of us basically did all the heavy lifting. We met all the time. We conferenced with each other. And we oversaw the financial direction of Chautauqua. And from that, then we kind of delegated responsibilities to these various areas down below. And what this meant is that a lot of work was put on a few people, and it wasn't necessarily really empowering to the rest of the community. things got done. In one sense, they were very efficient, but there lacked a certain delegation of responsibility. So what's really cool about Chautauqua is that it's a family-based organization. There's multiple generations involved. Now we're getting the third generation involved in the programs. We're actually an all-year-round program now, in the sense that we have summer activities, a fall activity, winter conference, and then a spring retreat. And we did that intentionally so that family camp wasn't just something that people could experience once a year, but actually the connections and the relationships could be extended to all year round. And I think community, that's an important part of community, is creating those kind of connections. So changing the sociocracy. Has anybody heard of sociocracy before? Okay, good. It's, I think it was originally from Holland. A mechanical or engineer came up with it. And it's all about a flat style of leadership. It's really not about top-down, but it's really about flattening an organization so that responsibility and leadership is spread to many. So we did the great experiment in 2013. We actually shifted from our top-down to a more flat style governance called sociocracy. So a big part of sociocracy is organizing circles, circles that take responsibility for various aspects of the organization. And from an executive team, we shifted to a Chautauqua Council, and that was a council of 12. And we were intentional in our organization of the council to have different groups represented in the council. So we had 4 members that would be considered first gens, basically 50 years and older. The second category was parents with young children, so children under 12 years of age. And then the third category was young adults. So we kind of did that intentionally. We had a general election among the Chautauqua leadership team, which was made up of 50 people. From those 50 people, 12 people were brought onto the council. So at the summit, 5 program circles, 5 operational circles. Let's see if we can get that up here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but the council is the top governing board. And then our various programs, which is Spring Gathering, Family Camp, Vision Quest, Harvest Festival, and Winter Retreat, those are programs, all form their own circle. And what I mean by a circle is a group of people who are very emotionally, intellectually serious about that particular program or that particular aspect. Then we also have financial, education, operations, activities, and media and communications. So say if you were very interested in doing Facebook, for example, you would join the media circle. And so you get a collection of people that have a vested interest or a real innate desire to make that area, that circle, do well. You're not like forcing people to join certain committees because they feel obligated to do so, or they feel they should do it. These are actually people that want to do what they're doing. So why this form? It's also called dynamic governance. To break up the work, again, I was overloaded. I had a full-time job and other things going on in my life, as well as Chautauqua, and being the director of Chautauqua, it was unbelievable the amount of work to pull off the various programs and to take care of the finances and everything involved. So to break up the work, this has been very successful in Chautauqua. We now have about 40, 50 people that are involved with the running of Chautauqua. And of course, the council kind of oversees things, but the workload is really spread out. We get things done farther in advance. In the old top-down model, everything was done last minute, and it was by crisis management. You know, you just throw things together because you got a deadline. The program's starting in 1 week, and we don't have an education director. And a lot of bad decisions can be made by this crisis management. So we found that through this breaking up into circles, now we started talking about summer camp back in January, and already so much is in place. There's still obviously a lot of problems that come up in any kind of organization, but things are getting done much farther in advance. So I already talked about this, letting participants contribute in areas where their passions and expertise are. So in the financial circle, for example, we have, I think 4 out of the 5 people have some kind of accounting degree. You know, they have finances in their background. So you're not just putting somebody like me who have no background in finances to speak of in terms of formally into an area of decision making that is not really where I'm trained. Oops. So inclusive, it involves many stakeholders as possible in the decision-making process. So this is important for buy-in. You're not just telling people what to do like in the top-down model. Basically, people are kind of like just waiting to receive direction. This is an inclusive model where people get involved, they can work things out. So 4 principles of sociocracy. Circle organization breaks up the workload, already mentioned that. Consent governs policy decision making versus consensus, and I'll get into that in a little bit. People are selected to roles and responsibilities by consent after open discussion. Double link circles, this is a process where there's communication happening between the circles and the council. I'll explain a little bit about that. So how policy decisions are made. So this is an important point. So rather than everybody agreeing and everybody stating their position and then agreeing, this by consent means a decision that you can live with. It may not be the perfect decision, but it's a decision that moves the program along. So you may come up with a proposal, and rather than everybody weighing in like, oh, this proposal doesn't work because of X, Y, and Z, it's more of the question as you go around voting on a certain proposal, is this a proposal that you can live with? So you have to actually opt out rather than opt in. So this is really important. So at that time, when a proposal is submitted by a circle, say the financial circle comes up with a proposal to reduce expenses in the kitchen or something like that. They want to get rid of a cook, one of the 2 cooks, which is an insane idea, Jeannie, I know. And they come to the council with their proposal, and it makes sense financially, but the council would then have an opportunity to have to come up with objections. But the idea of the circles is they already vet the proposal, that you have 4 to 6 people in a circle, and they've already well thought out this proposal. So a lot of bad ideas never make it to the council because the circle is already deciding this is a bad idea. You know, you're not just having one person with some harebrained idea getting an idea through a structure and then it's a horrible outcome for everybody. But between the circle, they've already well thought out, it's written down in a 1-page proposal, and then it's submitted to the council for approval. And then if it's still a bad idea, even after that point, the council has the ability to raise objections. And then the objections are given back to the circle, then the council has to rethink the proposal and resubmit it again. So paramount objections can be presented. This is something I cannot live with. I cannot live with the idea of taking away one of the cooks at family camp. That would just destroy the head cook. We all know who the head cook is. So let's talk a little bit about this. So consensus, do we all agree? Consent, are there any objections? It seems like a minor kind of nuance, but it's actually very important. Now that we've implemented this, actually decisions are made much more quickly. We have council meetings and proposals are submitted. And as long as it's a proposal that you can live with, let's give it a try. It's more of an experimental kind of model rather than being locked into a proposal that you think you have to live with for the rest of your life. So you try things out more. It's more risk-taking to some degree, but it does give you the opportunity, if it's a serious risk, you can object. And then once there's an objection, then it has to go back to the circle for reevaluation.
When you put a proposal in place, is there a time period of testing the waters on it works?
The council, the question is there a time period? Once a proposal's been accepted and nobody's opting out and nobody's making a strong objection, then the council can say, let's try this for 3 months. Let's see what happens. You know, that's the spirit of this form of governance. Let's see what happens. Let's see if this works. And actually what happens is a lot of good ideas emerge, because a lot of ideas, people are afraid of implementing new ideas. But if you have the kind of system in place where you're free to try new ideas, then a lot of new ideas can come about. So this is a good quote. By consensus, I must convince you that I am in the right. By consent, you ask whether you can live with the decision. So they're experiments. Just to your point, let's try it out for a certain amount of time. Watch for particular risk that may arise. Agree on some observations that would indicate the risk is coming and triggering some reaction, usually to abort the experiment. So the feedback loop is planning, collective intelligence, and what this means is on a circle level, there's already a lot of planning, a lot of discussion going on. You have 4 to 6 people in a circle that are quite intelligent, quite capable, and they can come up, through their collective intelligence, come up with really good proposals. Implementation, take an educated risk. And then perhaps what I love most about Chautauqua in general is the evaluation period. There's a lot of time and opportunities to evaluate what has worked and what hasn't worked, and I think that's one of the key successes of Chautauqua. So the roles of a circle, you have facilitators, you have administrators, and you have representatives. Those are like the 3 key roles of a circle. Again, it's not a leader, it's a facilitator. This person is really just to make things happen, a scribe, and then somebody who's part of the circle is also representing themselves to the larger council. Whoops, here we go. One more. Okay, so what we just did recently is we put in another layer, and that's the operation team, and every single person, let's see if this, each circle here has a person that's part of the operation team, and they meet once a month. It's usually a Zoom conference call, and you basically, the person in charge of spring gathering, for example, would then report to the operation team, which is basically made up of all these people plus one person that was elected to be part of the leader of this team. So everybody reports in once a month on how their circle is doing and what proposals are coming, what financial obligations are needed, and then the leader of the operation team, who's part of the Chautauqua Council, then reports to the Chautauqua Council. So this is Bluestone Farms. I'll just transition from Chautauqua into another project that I'm working on along with Peter and a few other people. It's an intentional community right on the upper Delaware River. And we're going to use the same sociocracy method on a community level, like an intentional community level. So the idea here is that there's founders, which would become part of a council, and then there'd be various circles that would be formed to make this a successful intentional community. So I don't know if anybody's heard of this project, but it's a 20-acre farm that my wife and I purchased, and the idea is that we'll have 6+ families living on the property, working, sharing together, creating a community, and will be it's an agricultural-based community where there's fresh food being produced. There'll be livestock. We already have chickens. We're getting cows this week and pigs this week. There's a lot of exciting things happening at Bluestone. We have a beehive, and Peter's doing a lot of the architectural aspects of it, community building through architecture. So there's a lot of exciting things going on here, but governance, just like anything, is going to be very important to make this happen. I think as tribal messiahs, our anointing from Father is all about building community and building organizations on a grassroots local structure. Even Father, he wasn't real thrilled about an organization called the Unification Church from my readings. He wanted to actually flatten the organization, and we all become tribal messiahs. We all become successful in our communities. We become policymakers and thought leaders in our community. And then based on a community success, then you go out into the larger world and be successful. But to try to be successful on a large organizational level without first going through being successful on a small community level, I think is the wrong order. But that's just my thoughts there. So what we want to do here at Bluestone is we created an LLC, made up the founders, which are the 6 families that will be living on the property. And community glue, of course, all these things will be happening. We've been there for about a year. It's a new project. We moved in last April. And there's already a lot of things happening on the community glue level. And communication is pretty good. We basically meet once a week on Zoom. And then we try to have gatherings at the farm. We have potlucks. We have events. We've had a mushroom event there. With Paul Bulow came, and we had like 35, 40 people came, and they all walked home with a mushroom log, and they learned all about mushrooms from an expert. And we had a beehive workshop recently, about a month ago. We had 3 beehives on the property. And the reason I say that, that's really community glue. That's what really brings the community together. So there's the internal community of the 6 families working closely together, but then there's a larger community of Mill Rift, which is the town the farm is in, Matamoros, which is the larger town, Port Jervis. That whole area becomes our extended community. And we want to have a strong integration between the internal community and the external community. We want to have a very vibrant relationship there so that we don't become exclusive. We're not like insular, but we want to be totally there, living a principled life, a principled lifestyle, being a witness to true parents to the world. That's really our internal goal. On the outside, it looks like a farm. It looks like a really cool organic permaculture farm. But internally, we really want to be a witness to God and true parents. So being intentional about creating community glue, I talked about that, internal, external. Circle concepts might be like community-supported agriculture, a CSA. So we might create a 4 or 5 person, and it doesn't just have to be the founders. The beautiful thing about sociocracy is you build circles not only with your internal group, but you build it with a larger community. You get as much feedback from people as possible. So education programs, community building, finances, all these can be circles of the farm. And that is it. I won't go into that.
Thank you, Greg. We're running out of time, so we've got to wrap it up. Time for just 1 or 2 questions for Greg. You too.
Thank you. I want to just say a comment, and I want to say I really like what you said, Greg. I've been a Chautauqua participant for many years, and I took this idea, brought it to our council in New Hope Family Church in Maryland about maybe 6 months ago. And we have dealt with the issues of councils and governance, and we came to the conclusion that even a council that is independent, that has the power to elect its own pastor and many other things, it's not sufficient enough. We need another structure that includes the membership, that gives ownership to the members. So we came across this Chautauqua Circle and then the ideas of dynamic governance and sociocracy. And I think that is a possibility, and I have great hopes in this. And I can report to you, we have a group, a sociocratic or dynamic governance style lay ministry group. We just started it with Matt is part of it. And we feel that these methods really work. It gives everyone who is participating a voice, and it gives us the tools to create a dynamic that is goal-orientated, it's practical-orientated, it's on practice, and it's feedback. We learn how to evaluate ourselves and bring real results. I think this is the first time that we have this in a church structure. The Chautauqua is more an independent circle, but we are actually members of HSA, and we're hoping that this can be like grassroots growing, inspiring others in the same way. Just one quick thing about consent and consensus. I think the good thing about that consent idea is that we can agree on certain issues. We don't have to agree on everything. For example, we work together with our Lutheran friends. We can consent to agree on specific issues like causa. We don't have to have a total theological consensus, which we may not have, but we can still be effective in that particular issue. And that applies to also in our own movement. We don't have to always agree 100% on everything, but we can consent on and focus on the things that we can have real influence and we can really do something. And just for example, part of our lay ministry is to help those families who are in need. They have physical needs, they have spiritual needs, they have financial needs, they may have health needs. So one of the projects is that we team up with, we make little small sub-circles, 3 or 4, and we assist certain families that are in need. And we meet with them on a regular basis, and we give them the help that they really try to get and they couldn't get so far. I think that's very important because membership is getting older, a lot of older members having a lot of issues, so I think that's part of the whole picture. That's one example, but it can be applied to other things as well. Anyway, so I want to give credit to Greg and credit also to the organizers and the incredible technology, because I was listening in before I came actually here, so thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Do you want to make a comment or should I?
There's a question for Greg. We really appreciate you. What are you doing that really can influence this entire country? But my question is, how you get the property your wife, right? And then you have a 7 family. Basically, you subdivide. How are up the deed? Means the deed will be remain in your name of the property.
Yeah, so the question is, I think it's really depends on the township that you decide to settle in, how strict it is in terms of zoning laws. So it's not one answer fits all. You have to choose a township that's not too strict about zoning. And like we're actually a farm in a residential zoning. And what that means is that we're able to subdivide into 1.5 acres. Or if you come to the township with a proposal, say like 20 acres has the ability to have like 8 lots on it with that 1.5 acre zoning, then you can get a zoning variance that allows you to cluster the homes together so you can have 8 homes that only occupy, say, 5 acres. So you say you only have like a 1/2 acre, rather than, who needs like 1.5 acres necessarily? If you're sharing a farm, you can actually live on a smaller plot of land. Now this particular lot had 4 1-acre lots already subdivided when we purchased it. So that was a huge advantage. And then our next step is to get 1 more lot as 1.5 acres. So we'll eventually end up with 6 families, including my wife and I, as part of the property. But the short answer is it depends on the township.
I'd like to thank everyone on the panel for joining, and all of you for joining us today. And Dr. Spurgeon has some closing remarks for us.
We thank the alumni and friends worldwide that are joining us, and of course our panel. Let's give them another thank you. September 20, 1975 was the inauguration day for UTS. So within a very short time, September 20 this year, we're going to celebrate 40-year history of UTS. Is it going to end there? No. Huh? You want to give up? Stop? No way. This is the property where the true parents gave everything, their love, their heart, everything here. And their spirit's here. You feel it? Yes. Right? It's here. And the spirit of our alumni, This morning we were celebrating all our alumni have passed away, but they're here, right? So we're going to go not just another 40 years, we're going to go 400, 4,000. Forever. Oh, I didn't think of that. Forever. And ever and ever. We're never giving up this property. This is sacred property. It's a historical place. We're asking the alumni and friends, anybody on the planet Earth and the spiritual world, to participate. We're forming a new council. Yesterday, the people here, we agreed. I think we had a consensus that, did we? We had somebody objecting. We're going to have a council. And maybe many councils helping mobilize the alumni worldwide, which is a powerful force, to change America and the world for everything that our true parents have been working for, and to bring about Chungilguk, the kingdom of God on earth. Right? Amen. We're going to do it. Thank you for visiting. Thank you for our panel.
Thank you, Dr. Spurgeon. Robin Graham's going to now introduce the breakout panels, which will be an opportunity for us to discuss with our panel members, ask them questions individually, and we hope that'll further enlighten all of us.
So, you know, the breakout groups were really good, weren't they, this morning? So we'd like to just do the same thing again. Why don't we break out? We've got 20 or so minutes, maybe 25 until lunchtime. And I'd like, actually, if one of you could join each group, maybe we make 4 groups, just make a circle where you are. And one of you join each group just to be a kind of help, facilitate. Does that sound good? You willing to do that? Okay. Can we make a circle? Like, the topics are going to be, okay, very simple. Share experiences of good governance that you've had, and share some experience of dysfunctional governance that you have had. Smaller groups? Maybe smaller groups of 5, so everybody get a chance. We've got 20 minutes.